Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is a completion of chapter 4, second video we have on creativity problem solving. The chapter concentrates on the first three stages of creativity problem solving model. These three stages is objective finding, fact finding, and problem finding. The model is 6 stages here. And we will introduce these 3 ones, as I said, for in this chapter, and in the following chapter, inshallah, we will complete the following stages. The chapter discusses tools and techniques in each and every stage of this. In the previous video, we talked about objective finding, and we introduced the SWOT analysis, the famous SWOT analysis, as a tool, famous tool for objective finding. And then we move to the second stage, which is fact finding, and we had only one technique for that, which is the 6 questions for Rudyard Kipling: what, why, when, how, where, and who, which is called the 5 W's and an H. The second tool, we will start our lecture or video here, is the dimension analysis. Dimension analysis similar to the 6 stages in the fact that it collects information about perspective of the problem, the area of the problem, in a way that help define and help later on to find solutions. They are close in 3 dimensions. There are 5 dimensions we are talking about in this technique. These are the 5 dimensions: substantive, spatial, temporal, quantitative, and qualitative. They define the limit and boundaries and dimensions of a problem by studying these 5 dimensions. 3 of them is close to 3 questions we had in the 6 questions in the previous tool. Substantive is about the what, spatial is about the place, which is where, temporal is about the time, and quantitative and qualitative is different dimensions we introduce here. Let's have an example. We have here a problem we may face is about shop floor productivity is declining, as we see in this little picture here. We collect information on substantive, which is what is the problem exactly. So here we have some tips about collecting information about the what, or the substantive, the core point here. What things we need to that need to be done or needs to be stopped or modified. So commission, omission is one of the things you collect information about. What things in, things need to be out. Also, the what is about the attitude or deed. Is the decline due to attitudes or observable behavior? Do we have ends and means, something that came first and then that led to something else? So we have a cause and effect. Do we have symptoms for a disease or something like that? So these are some tips for collecting information about the what, substantive part. Spatial part, which is the place. Is the problem local or far distant one? Is it limited to a specific location or in different locations? Is it isolated or widespread? So all these issues are related to the place or the where. Number 3 is about the time, temper. Is it long-standing or recent problem? Something happened just recently. Does it exist for a long time? Will it lead to more problems in the future? So all this data we need to collect, or we may need to collect in this dimension analysis. Dimension number 4, quantitative. Here we collect data and information about numbers. Do we have single or multiple causes, or person related to the problem, or places, or machines, or resources, right? So how many of them? So this is a quantitative part of a problem. We may have a problem that is quantitative by nature. Also, as well, we have the qualitative dimension. Do we have something deep-rooted in the problem? Do we have some features? Do we have some emotions and feeling and deep understanding of something, some values, and so on? So all this may be investigated or used to describe the problem or help enlighten those who are finding solutions for the problem. This is the second tool we have for fact finding, and then we move to problem finding, which is stage number 3. Let me show you the model. Go back here. Okay, so we finished objective finding and fact finding. Now we are moving to problem finding, stage number 3 in our CPS, which is creativity problem solving process. In this problem finding, we have many tools actually, and they are very close to each other. I mean the first category of them. The problem finding is we are talking about considering a variety of problem perspectives for the problem. We see how problem can be seen from different angles or from different perspectives, as it's said here. 2 categories of tools: redefinitional approach and analytical methods. Analytical methods are used for the problem that has systems and subsystems, and they have many details, ones that they can be organized or portrayed in diagrams or something like that. While the redefinition approach, we are talking about problems simpler, but it may need some understanding of the level or the perspective of the problem. Let's start with the redefinition approaches. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tools we have here. Many of them are very close, maybe the same. The most important one of them is the laddering, the first one actually. Yeah, it tells the whole story. The laddering here, it says when you have a problem, you may have different degrees of seeing that problem, from a higher level on a ladder or a lower level one, right? So, for example, sales manager trying, if we have a problem concerning declining sales or something. So, on a higher level, the problem might be how to improve sales techniques. Right? In the middle level in the organization, it's about training. And a lower level, training is very high. Let's just have good sales manual. So it's a lower level. So the problem is developing a sales manual. So the laddering is good in the sense that it helps us limit the problem or expand it, make sure it's not too wide or too narrow. We investigate that using the laddering technique. We have here a diagram that summarizes this, state the problem in terms of how, and then use question why to go up and how to go down. We will see the why. Whenever you ask a question why sales is going down, it leads you to a higher level. So why the sales is going down? Because we have bad sales techniques that would move you down. How can we solve the problem? By having a manual, right? So we go down by this. So how do we think? By using the why to go up, the how to go down. And then after answer this the question whether you are going up or down in the ladder, you state, you write down, redefine the problem according to what you have found. Technique number 2, goal orientation. We finished laddering, we have now goal orientation. Goal orientation is another simple technique that assists in obtaining a definition. We outline the problem in general, and then we concentrate or collect data or ask ourselves what do we need, what might be the obstacles and the constraints of the problem. Based on understanding this, we redefine the original problem. So let's have an example. in using goal orientation. Three things we study here: objective, obstacles, and constraints. The initial problem is declining sales, right? As we talked about, because we have some competitor, new one. So we ask ourselves, what might be the objective for solving this problem? So it could be what the organization want after solving the problem. It could be regain the previous level of sales. If that is our objective, so we define the problem according to this objective. We would like to redefine it in a way that include obstacles. So there are some dimensions we didn't consider. Notice something here, that there might be an obstacle concerning funding. We don't have limited funding to regain or to go back to the previous level. So the definition here should be modified to be regain the previous level of sales in the light of limited funding. This is better definition for the problem. We may have other constraints, right? So constraints is something that prevent you. So something that you can do anything about it. So the constraint we have here is that existing prices of the product need to be maintained for competitive reasons. Okay, so you need to redefine the problem and show in the definition that with no changes in prices in order to be competitive. So based on understanding or asking these questions and giving answers and enhance our understanding of the perspectives of the problem based on goal orientation technique, the new definition could be how to get more people to buy our products. So this is increasing sales, right? Without reducing the rising prices, without reducing here, this is a constraint, right? Or being reliant on funds because it's an obstacle from within the firm. This is more appropriate definition of the problem than merely saying falling sales, right? It will help enhance solutions found for this problem. That was technique number 2, is goal orientation. Technique number 3 is boundary examination, and we have the same philosophy. We've been investigating here objective, obstacles, and constraints, right? Here we are investigating some assumptions, and we try to find answers or meaning for some keywords in the initial definition of a problem. So we write down the initial definition of a problem, okay, and then we highlight, we mark some words or sentences or phrases in the problem, okay, and try to understand the meaning, implicit meaning, implicit feelings, which is called here connotations. In this word, do we have assumptions behind it? If we talk about reduce cost, does this mean that we can reduce cost? So it's an assumption here, right? Or does this mean that the cost is high? Okay, producing and marketing here we have in the problem. That this mean the only areas we need to consider, that is, and so on. So let's see the example. The initial definition of the example of a problem here is: in what ways might the company reduce costs of producing and marketing its goods so as to be more competitive in the marketplace? According to the example we had from the text, these three phrases have been highlighted. Company reduce cost, this is a key phrase we have here. Producing and marketing, competitive in the marketplace, this is the third. Now let's investigate these three, discuss them with some experts or some managers in the organizations to see what do they mean, what do they assume, what are the connotations. Connotations mean the feelings. We will see this in the second following slide. So let's have the first one: company reduce cost. Think about it. company reduce costs based on a discussion with expert. It assumes that the firm can reduce costs and it is necessary to do so to solve the problem. So in what ways might the company reduce? So when we redefine the problem, we show that we need to reduce costs, right? Based on studying the connotations of these keywords. Let's go to producing and marketing. Producing and marketing, the second one here. So as you see, while we are moving, we are trying to understand the boundaries of our problem. It's called boundary examination through these keywords. Let's have the second one, producing and marketing. Producing and marketing assumes the meaning, the feeling of this keyword assumes that the focus of the problem is production and marketing, right? So we limit our problem definition to these two areas. Let's see the third keyword, competitive in the marketplace. Competitive in the marketplace means that assumes that the firm is not competitive enough and it needs to be more competitive in the marketplace. After studying A, B, and C, it was thought that A and B were taken as the key. We will neglect C. Then a redefinition for the problem is how to make the product more attractive to customer. This is simpler, and it was thought that this is the best way to define after studying understanding connotations of the keywords. Now let's go back. We have the tools in problem finding. We studied 3 now. The first one was the laddering, the second was goal orientation, the third one was boundary examination. Let's move to number 4, which is called progressive abstraction. Progressive abstraction is a technique similar to the laddering. We move from one step to the other, right? But by finding solution to the problem. We jump from problem finding to solutions finding, right? So we define the problem and said that what might be the solution? The solution is A. So redefine the problem again by saying how can we find A? By writing this down, we think again, how can we find A? By finding B. So we redefine the problem again by finding B, and so on. It's called progressive, and we move from one definition by more abstraction of the problem by its solutions. So let's read this. We repeatedly define the problem, and each time we abstract, we go down to the solutions until we find some satisfactory definition. So write the problem, find solution, each one you find the solution, write the problem again, and repeat again and again until you find a satisfactory one. A bit close to the laddering. A problem might be improve meetings. We have bad meetings in our organization. So the question is, how can we improve in what ways, IWWM, in what ways might we improve meetings? The answer could be by having the meeting in most convenient times. Okay, this is solution, right? So now we can redefine the problem by saying that how can we have our meeting at the most convenient times? So this is more specific, more abstracted than this one. The answer or the solution could be, the problem is not convenient time. The problem is about circulating agendas in advance. So the problem could be, how can we circulate agendas well in advance? Somebody else discussing the problem was said, no. The problem, the solution is have better structured meeting. The meeting itself should be structured. So the problem may be redefined by saying, how can we have better structured? You see, when we think in a solution, we can define the problem in a more abstracted way. and so on. We pick one of these and then ask another question. Let's assume that we said that the first one is the one selected. This is exactly what they meant by improving meetings. We begin to ask questions again. How can we enhance the convenient time? We find answers, and each time we find an answer, we redefine again. I will leave this you to read, and it goes like this: find a solution, redefine the problem by writing the solution in terms of how again. That's technique number 4, progressive abstraction. Technique number 5 is the why method. The why method is you define a problem and ask yourself, why do we have this problem? And then redefine again by broadening the problem higher level. It's the same like the laddering technique. Remember the laddering? We go up by asking why, and we go down by asking how. So it's going up by asking a why question. It's a sub-technique of the laddering. It's useful for broadening, going behind. So if we have a problem in meeting, why do we have a problem in meeting? Because we have people busy. So why do we have people busy? Because people are stuck with lots of work activities. Why do we have, and so on. You continue asking why, and then you redefine the problem based on that. This is an example. We have an automobile company that is trying to, in what way might we improve performance of car tires? They ask questions. Why do we want to improve car tires? The first answer was road handling. So why do we want to enhance the road handling? Because we need to have a safer car. Why do we have? So in the end, we have the problem defined like in what way we make cars safer. So it's not only tires. You know, you have broadened the problem and became safety in general like this. Right? So the why conceptualize, go up in the problem like that. Let me remind you again that we are talking about problem finding. We have 2 categories of techniques: redefinition approach, and we finished them. The 5 techniques we have: laddering, goal orientation, boundary examination, progressive abstractions, and then the why method. Now we are moving to the second category of tools: analytical methods. The first one is called decomposable matrices, and the second one is cause and effect diagram. These 2 are used in complicated, detailed problems that has many details. So the first one is here. It's called decomposable matrices. It's a problem that you need to view it in a big organization of a matrix, columns and rows. So define the problem, find the subsystems of them, okay, and then list these subsystems in a matrix. So construct a matrix of subsystems. These subsystems represent the columns of the matrix and the same subsystems as rows. So, and see how they match to each other, okay, and give weights for each subsystem to the other. How important this subsystem to that subsystem, how important that subsystem to this subsystem. And from your weights you can tell that those mapping is important in different areas. So you define the problem based on the most important areas which have the higher score. Let's give an example. Assume you have a problem of enhancing an automobile design, and this automobile design has 3 components: finished product itself, power, and lubrication part. Okay, so and you found that the finished product has A, B, C, D, E, F, G components. So it's like 7 components, subcomponents of the finished product. And then the power part has A, B, C, D, E, F, G as well, 7 components, while the lubrication part has only 2 components. So you designate a column for each sub like this, and then do the same for the rows. You have finished product FB, and you have power here, and you have lubrication here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, A, B only for the lubrication. Now we need to put weights for the map or the match between each subsystem and the other. So the match between A and, you don't match with A and A, of course. We say here A and B, for example. A and B on a scale of 5, right? Assume that we have a scale of 5. 5 is very important. 4 is important. 3 is neutral or average. 2 is not important. 1 is not important at all. So the connection between A and B may take a score of 3. 3 is in the middle, right? The map or the match between A and C is 2. 2 is below average. It's not important. While A and D is 5. Oh my God. So we have here something that is very important. So when we define our problem of designing this product, we should give big emphasis on the match between, or the map between A and D. You see? And then you continue giving numbers, and then select the 5s and the 4s, and then when you design this new product, you write down that we need to consider a good design that concentrate on A and D, maybe B and E because it's 4 as well, but neglect all these 1s and 2s and 3s and so on. Yeah. So this is called the decomposable matrices. It helps portray the different systems and subsystems, components, subcomponents in a diagram like this, and enable us to put weights for the importance of the mapping between subcomponents of each subsystems. The last tool we have in this chapter is about the cause and effect diagram. It's whenever you have a problem that has causes for some symptoms, and these causes have other causes, and these causes have other ones, and you need to go to the deep root of the problem, right? It is advised that you, whenever the problem is hard or complicated, you diagram it, you put it into a diagram, right? So the most famous diagram for cause and effect, actually it's called the fishbowl. For example, let's assume that we have high absenteeism rate نسبة غياب يعني in an organization. So what might be the causes of this? See the diagram. I'm sorry. The problem I brought from the text is not about absenteeisms. It's about computer data entry errors. Yani people enter that enter data have many errors. So what might be the problem? The problem might be in people, manpower. And it was found that it could be in the methods of data entry, materials, and machines. Okay, so what's behind manpower? Manpower could be lack of supervision. So this is a cause of this cause, right? But staff are new. We have many temporary staff. Pressure of work, and it was found that pressure of work has lack of regular breaks, no time, and so on. So we do the same for each category of causes here, and it looks like a fishbone, عظم سمكة, as we call it in Arabic. This is a nice diagram to analyze a problem that had causes, and causes have other ones, and that would enhance understanding the root, deep causes of a problem in order not to concentrate on the symptoms. You need to go to the real disease you have in something like this. We finished the chapter now, and in the end we would like to have an overview that help us select the right tool for the right situation. So an overview here is that if you have a problem that has changing perspectives, right, it could go up or go down. The concept itself could be a higher level or lower level, it could be strategic one, or could be implementation, and use the laddering. If the goal has abstracts and obstacles and you need to show this, so use goal orientations. If you have some words that have meanings, different ones from one to another, you need to settle down the meaning of this, so use the boundary examination, right, and mark all the key phrases in the problem, and then find their meanings and write down the problem again using their meanings and connotation. If you are talking about a problem that had facts need to be considered, how about the 5 W's and an H? Layer 5 questions. If you have something complicated and have subsystems and subcomponents and something like this, how about the decomposable matrices? If you have a problem that has cause and effect and causes for the causes, and you need to investigate the roots of a problem, then how about the fishbone and cause and effect diagram? I finished chapter 4 by these tools. It's quick overview actually. This chapter need practical training, and we will do this inshallah in our tutorials. Thank you.